Hi everyone, I'm really glad to be here. The presentation is almost done, so I'm Matthieu, you understand. And a few more words about Adullact. Adullact is a French non-profit made of local governments, and we help them build business OSS. By business OSS, I mean open source software that are dedicated to their business needs, more that in a few seconds. And in this session, we'll share what we've learned since 20 years by building such open source software and such sustainable communities. Let's get into the problem. So, local governments, actually, they love business OSS. But before describing how they do love it, let's describe what is a business OSS. A business OSS is software that is related to the, let's call them the daily duty of the local government, what is related to their day-to-day business. Counter-example, dealing with an office suite is not a business OSS. Dealing with a web server is not a business OSS. On the opposite, dealing with a cemetery, managing a cemetery is a business OSS. Each town has a cemetery, and each cemetery has a software to manage the cemetery. Yes, there exists software to manage cemeteries. Yes, the example of cemeteries is typical of a business OSS. There are lots of other business OSS. But, because there is a but, it is hard for two things. When it comes to having or ensuring the maintenance of that business OSS, it is hard. And by ensuring the maintenance, I mean ensuring the maintenance on the long run, let's say for at least 5 years. That was the first difficulty. The second difficulty is pooling money or pooling resources. As you all know, all the public procurement is tightly regulated. For instance, you can't have two local govs sharing a same invoice. This is just forbidden, legally forbidden. So how do you pool money for local govs? That's the difficulty. To do that, first, let's describe what I call the casting. In order to succeed in tackling those difficulties, we need to have 3 important points. First, identify a business need. You remember business as managing the cemetery. Second, having 2 local govs. Two at least, I mean, sharing with one is of course not enough, and 2 local govs. And third, have a third party, and a third party that will play many roles, we'll describe in a few seconds. And the important thing about that third party, it must not be a local gov. It must be different, a different legal form. Now, get on the scene. What is the acting? What is the acting for the local governments? They will have to do mainly 3 important points, from bottom to top. They will have to choose a provider to actually develop the business OSS they are interested in. It is not that difficult, it's kind of easy. They will have to decide the roadmap for that business OSS, and they will have to decide for the roadmap together. This is a bit more tricky. And finally, they will exchange on their business practices. And exchanging on their business practices has proven to have great value for them. So that was for the local govs. Now, what are the duties or the acts for the third party? The third party has also 3 main points to deal with. First one is organizing the workshop, organize regular workshop. Prosaically, this means, okay, let's send few emails and clearly write the report. Next, pooling the money, pooling resources. How do we do? This is an important point that we will detail a few in the next slide, but one word is important, is membership. The local gov, by being member of the third party, This is a way to bring money into a common goal. We'll detail this in the next slide. And third, the no-fork strategy. The no-fork strategy is certainly the most difficult and the most important part that you may pay attention to. By most important, I mean, if you have several local govs working on the same open source software, you may have one that says, well, I've got an urgent need and I will solely work on that feature. You have to warn those local govs that it would be a great mistake if they ever do that. You will have to explain prevently that they should not do that, because if only one does this, everyone loses. And you've got to take care at what we call the shifted calendars. And shifted calendars is when you have one local gov that has an urgent need and the other local gov doesn't share that need at that time. So you got to realign all those agendas. So the no-fork strategy is highly important to us. Pooling resources, as we said, the idea is to have many local govs at the bottom, at the center, the third party that brings all the membership fees, and at the bottom, all the project. The idea that is important here is that you've got many local govs and many projects. If you ever have one local govs or one project, this is wrong. I mean, this is a many-to-many relationship. If you ever have a one-to-many or many-to-one, this doesn't work. History has proven that different projects tried this, and this doesn't work. And to finish, an example on department notary. This is a business OSS. The business of that software is not important. I couldn't describe it in the question, but the important point here is that in that software, it has been invested €500,000. And how much does it cost for local gov to get in? Well, in fact, zero. This is pure OSS. I mean, by pure OSS, everything is transparent. You get access to the code, you get access to the whole documentation, you get access to all the GitLab, to all the issues, to all the contributors. Well, it is a cost of zero for that part. And what I describe as the right to vote, which is a few K euros, 6 for instance, it is for the local gov when they want to define the roadmap, they should vote. And for voting, they have to be members. And so that's why I call it the right to vote. So if you sum up all of the data, you get €500,000 on one hand. And on the other hand, you've got only a few K euros to have the right to vote. So this proves that pooling resources is highly efficient when it comes to business OSS. And that's my final word. So thank you very much.